happened on Saturday evening, January 9th, 1892. The ground was covered several inches deep with freshly fallen snow. The great building was standing stately and beautiful in the semi-darkness. The dome loomed up against the gray sky in colossal outline. About 7, the great bell in the tower of the College of Agriculture, now Switzler Hall, clanged out on the crisp night air, summoning the public to the open session. Immediately, the startling cry was raised, "Fire! Fire! The university is on fire!" 100 voices took it up. Men and boys several squares away heard and echoed that cry. The frightful news flew abroad on the night wind. Hundreds of citizens, seated comfortably around their firesides, were appalled by that dread, unusual sound. The university is on fire! In a few minutes, men, women, and children, almost the entire population of Columbia, were hurrying breathlessly along in a dark street, by every street, in the direction of the campus. A lurid light was reflected against the sky. The night was bitterly cold. All the panes of glass were melting under the intense heat and trickling down the walls in a molten stream. The ironwork of the fixtures was seen to writhe and twist like serpents in fiery convolutions. All the windows were belching forth from shattered frames masses of purple smoke. Curling tongues of flame shot out yards inland. Someone remembered that the tablet of the Jefferson Monument, a unique and priceless relic, had been placed for safekeeping in the chapel. But it was now too late to save it. The fire, meanwhile, steadily advanced and gained the rotunda of the main building. The immense amount of woodwork here gave the flames a fury and an intensity that is indescribable. The doors and windows were spouting great torrents of fire. The red flames crept steadily along the roof, licking their jaws like a ravenous dragon. They caressed and entwined themselves about the columns, or leaped boldly into space. A terrible roar pervaded the air. The sound was like that of an approaching tornado, tearing its way through the forest. A billowy sea of flame mounted into the sky, as if impelled by the blast of a titanic furnace. A dense shower of sparks floated off over the town, presenting the appearance of millions of scintillant stars dancing on the bosom of an enormous black cloud. All at once, there came a crash, as terrific as the explosion of an arsenal, and the colossal copper-shit dome was blown loose from its fastenings, and fragments were hurled high in the air. Several souls were in the building at the time. An eyewitness said, so violent was the propulsive force of the blast, that for a moment the sensation was like the shock of an earthquake. The floors vibrated, and the walls appeared to be swaying in upon us. We fled, terror-stricken for our lives. Though at several times, anxiety was felt for those in the building, and though there were several narrow escapes from suffocation and falling walls, no one was seriously injured. A new element of grandeur was now about to add itself to the scene. The fiery tide was lashing and surging around the room, in which were stored 14,000 rounds of ammunition for the rifles of the cadets. Besides these, there was a considerable store of shells and powder for the artillery detachment. The commandant of cadets commemorates, seeing that an explosion was imminent, took a squad, and passing along near the building, pressed the crowd back to a safer position. Then, above the volcanic violence of the conflagration, was heard the explosion of the cartridges, bursting into shells. The detonations marked an old soldier, were as rapid as firing in a hotly contested battle. The frequent intervals was heard, the crash of some falling wall, and a great crest of flame would show where partition or floor had fallen in and given another morsel to the all-devouring elements. On the next morning, Sunday, January 10th, 1892, there was a called meeting of the faculty at 9 o'clock. A telegram from Governor Francis was read, urging that effective steps be taken to hold the student corps. A bulletin was issued to the students, declaring that the faculty had unanimously decided to proceed as usual with the work of the university. A large and enthusiastic meeting was held at 10 o'clock in the Opera House, at which hopeful speeches were made by many professors, citizens, and students. No services were held in the churches of the town, the ministers being present at the mass meeting. With one or two exceptions, the entire body of students enrolled at that time, 584, stood firm and refused to leave the university. At 11 o'clock on Monday, January 11th, a second meeting in the Opera House was held. Addresses were made by Governor David R. Francis, Honorable G.F. Rothwell, Judge B.M. Dilley, President R.H. Jesse, and others. Numerous telegrams of sympathy from all over the country were received and read. A circular was sent to every patron, stating that all the churches, halls, and other public buildings in Columbia had been thrown open for the use of the university, and that work would go on uninterrupted. On Tuesday, the campus's morning chapel exercises were held as usual. All classes were provided for, and not a recitation was missed. This is conduct worthy of Missourians, and it challenges the admiration of all who know the value of brave and honorable behavior under severe circumstances. It is proof of the noble and dutiful spirit nurtured and developed at our university, which comes through bold spirits and brave hearts. Between these columns, through the wide entrance to the spacious rotunda of the old building, in years gone by, have entered into the university more than 14,000 students. As they approached up the broad aisle leading over the campus, the very first thing that caught the eye and impressed the imagination was these magnificent columns. Dull indeed was the soul and unfit for the learning of those grand halls, upon which they did not impress themselves with deep and sacred effect. They will stand, reflected forever in the hearts of the noble band of youth who here were initiated into the mysteries of that learning which endowed them with the power of cultivated thought, expanded their hearts to all the high claims of the divinest of social structures, and inspired their souls with a deathless ambition to rival and lead the world in the office of patriotism and service to their country. 50 years have marked the ceaseless procession, coming and going, of this army of students, year after year, They have departed into the mighty throng of toil, bearing with them in the pursuit of fortune, and through all the mutation of business and the adventure of life, the dear memories of the scenes, associations, trials, and triumphs of their college days. Many now adorn the social and political life of their state. Some have even given their talents to other states, while others on sea or land, and with distinguished service, have borne the national honor. But to all who think and feel, one sentiment is dear: the love of the old university and its fond recollections. Few hearts did not bend, and few eyes did not moisten at the knowledge of this irreparable loss, for it is only human to feel deeply, and tenderness is a badge of nobility. Let these columns stand. Let them stand 1,000 years. Crown them with an arch, memorial to the students who in their magnificent presence learned what life and duty are, and how to live one and do the other. They will be to all a rallying point of future devotion and service to the university, for surely the strongest bulwark around any institution is the ceaseless recollection and loving devotion of its intellectual children. No university can be most attractive and great till age has brought it this support. No argument persuades like sentiment, and no force impels like affection. And these sad columns will in the future also prove of deep significance and impressive force upon the column of new students, growing ever longer as time proceeds and the state makes greater provisions. They will walk up the broad aisle where their elders walked, and through these columns, bereaved of their former glory and tortured into ruins by fire, they will behold the new university.